Study Hall and our Art Explored segment. If you've ever looked at a really famous painting and just gone, huh, okay, what's really going on there? Then you are definitely in the right place today.
Absolutely. Because we're diving into one you absolutely know.
Oh, yeah. Even if you don't think you know it, you probably do. Grant Wood's American Gothic, that very serious-looking farmer with the pitchfork. And the woman next to him.
That's the one. And, it looks simple enough at first glance. Bit stern, maybe?
A bit. Understatement.
True. But it's way more than just a picture of two people. It's become this huge American icon. They even call it America's Mona Lisa.
Wow. Okay. High praise.
And there's a fascinating story behind it, tied up with American identity, the Great Depression. It's got layers. Seriously, like a very complex parfait.
A parfait. Okay, I'm intrigued. So our mission today for everyone listening is to peel back those layers. We've looked at art history, cultural analysis, the historical context. Basically, we're going deep.
We want to get past just recognizing it on a coffee mug,
Exactly. We want to understand why it's famous, where it came from, and maybe even why it still resonates or maybe confuses us today. So where do we start? Eldon, Iowa.
We start in Eldon, Iowa. August 1930, Grant Wood, the artist, he's driving around looking for subjects for inspiration.
Just hunting for ideas.
Yeah. And he spots this little white house. What really catches his eye isn't the whole house initially, but this one specific window on the second floor.
A window.
A kind of fancy pointed arch window. He described it as a pretentious architectural feature. It was in a style called Carpenter Gothic.
Carpenter Gothic. Okay, break that down for us non-architects. Is that like wood pretending to be stone cathedrals?
Sort of. It was 19th century American style.
Fed.
Think simpler wooden houses, but they borrowed some of those Gothic elements, especially the pointed windows, maybe some decorative trim. It gave a sort of vertical, slightly dramatic look to otherwise plain buildings.
So like a farmhouse trying to look a bit churchy.
You could say that. And Wood saw this window on this otherwise quite modest cottage, and it just clicked.
Inspiration struck.
Right there. He apparently grabbed an envelope he had with him and sketched the house on the back of it.
Classic artist move, sketching on whatever's handy.
Totally. And almost immediately, he started thinking about the people who would live in a house like that. He literally said he imagined American Gothic people with faces stretched out long to match the house.
Wow. So the architecture itself suggested the personalities. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's like he felt the severity or the uprightness of the house needed equally severe, upright inhabitants. He wasn't just painting a scene. He was building a whole narrative in his head.
Which makes sense when you think about Grant Wood himself. He wasn't an outsider looking in, right? He was an Iowan.
Absolutely fundamental. Born 1891, grew up on a farm there. He knew rural Iowa, the landscape, the people, the whole vibe. Even after his dad died and they moved to Cedar Rapids, those roots were deep.
Didn't he study arts and crafts, too? I remember reading that. Ernest Batchelder?
Yes. Good point. He studied with Batchelder in Minneapolis. The arts and crafts movement really valued craftsmanship, local traditions, honesty in materials. You kind of see echoes of that in the careful detail of American Gothic.
Okay, so he's got this grounding in Iowa life and craftsmanship, but I also heard he went to Europe. Seems a bit counterintuitive for a guy who became a champion of American regionalism.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, he made several trips in the 1920s, spent time in Paris, studied at the Academy Julian. He was definitely aware of European art.
So he wasn't just rejecting it out of hand.
Not at all. But the really crucial trip was to Munich in 1928. He was actually there to oversee the making of a stained glass window he'd designed.
Stained glass. Okay, didn't see that coming.
Right. But while he was there, he visited the Alte Pinakothek, a major art museum, and he saw the Flemish old masters, Jan van Eyck, Hans Memling.
Ah, the super detailed guys.
Exactly. He was apparently just blown away by the meticulous detail, the incredible realism, the smooth, polished surfaces. He also saw work from the German New Objectivity movement, Neue Sachlichkeit, which was all about sharp focus, unsentimental realism.
So Europe didn't make him an impressionist. It made him more detailed.
Precisely. It gave him the technique, the tools to achieve the style he wanted for his American subjects. He came back and shifted to this very hard-edged, finely rendered style. Someone called him the Hans Memling of the Midwest.
That's perfect. It captures that blend.
Yeah. He returned to Iowa, fully committed to depicting his region, its people, its values. He became a key figure in regionalism, sort of positioning himself against European modernism, even cultivating this persona of the down-to-earth Iowan rustic.
Even though he was actually quite sophisticated, artistically speaking.
Very. It was a deliberate choice European technique for American subjects.
Okay, so Wood has his vision, his style. Who did he get to be these American Gothic people? Because it's not a couple, right?
Correct. That's probably the biggest misconception. The woman is his own sister, Nan Wood Graham. She was 32 at the time.
His sister. Okay.
And the man was his dentist.
Get out, his dentist.
Yep. Dr. Byron McKeeby from Cedar Rapids. He was in his 60s. Apparently, Wood had to persuade him. He was a bit reluctant.
I can imagine. Hey, Doc, want to pose for a painting that'll make you look incredibly stern and possibly become world famous?
Huh, something like that. Wood apparently couldn't find any local farmers who fit the image in his head.
So he settled for his dentist. Amazing. And they didn't pose together.
Nope. Never stood together in front of the house. Wood painted them separately in his studio in Cedar Rapids. He constructed the whole scene.
Wow. Okay.
He was really specific about the costumes, too. He had Nan pull her hair back really severely, and he ordered that specific colonial print apron for her. Dr. McKeeby wore his work overalls, but Wood made sure they looked spotless. He wanted them to look like old photos, like tintypes from my old family album, he said.
So it's totally staged. A deliberate creation of an image, not capturing reality.
Exactly. It's a representation, an archetype he was building.
Okay, let's place this creation in time. 1930. What was America like then? Because it wasn't exactly rosy, was it?
Far from it. The stock market had crashed in October 1929. So by 1930, the U.S. is sliding deep into the Great Depression.
Banks failing, unemployment skyrocketing.
Massive economic hardship everywhere. And Midwestern farmers, they were already struggling before the crash, with low prices and sometimes drought. The Depression just made everything worse. It was a time of huge uncertainty, anxiety, dislocation, and disillusionment, as people have said.
So this painting emerges right into that atmosphere of crisis. It debuted at the Art Institute of Chicago in October 1930. That timing feels potent.
Hugely potent. And incredibly, it won a prize at the exhibition. A bronze medal, $300. That got Wood noticed nationally pretty much overnight.
And maybe in that climate of fear and uncertainty, people saw something reassuring in this image, like stability.
That was definitely part of its initial appeal for many. Here are these seemingly solid, stoic, enduring figures. They looked like they could weather any storm. It offered this vision of reassurance, representing perhaps the traditional values, hard work, perseverance, that people hoped would get the country through the crisis.
It wasn't universally loved at first, was it? I feel like I read about some backlash.
Oh, absolutely. Backlash is putting it mildly in some quarters. That ambiguity, the stern expressions, the pitchfork, it invited very different readings.
Like what?
Well, many urban critics, East Coast intellectuals, they saw it as satire, a send-up of rural life.
Like making fun of country folk.
Exactly, like caricatures of small-town, conservative, maybe even backward people. Think H.L. Mencken's view of the Boo Boise. They thought Wood was mocking them.
Ouch. So how did people in the Midwest, especially Iowa, react to that?
Many were seriously offended, insulted even. Letters poured into Iowa newspapers. People felt they were being portrayed as grim, repressed, and, well, ugly. One farm wife famously said she'd like to scratch Wood's eyes out. The local paper printing it with the caption, "Iowa farmer and his wife," didn't help matters either.
Whoops. So Wood had some explaining to do.
He did. He quickly clarified, look, it's father and daughter, not husband and wife. He also stressed they were meant to be generic American types, not specifically Iowans. And crucially, he insisted it wasn't satire. He said he was trying to paint them affectionately, to represent basically solid and good people, to honor those rural American values he admired.
So affectionate tribute versus biting satire, that's quite a divide.
It really reflected the cultural tensions of the time, didn't it? Urban versus rural, modern versus traditional. The painting became a kind of screen onto which people projected their own views and prejudices.
A Rorschach test for America in 1930.
Perfectly put. And interestingly, as the Depression wore on, the perception started to shift more broadly towards the positive interpretation. People started to admire that perceived resilience, the work ethic, the plain virtues the figures seemed to represent.
So nostalgia and a search for core values kind of won out.
It seemed so. By 1933, when it was shown at the big Century of Progress exposition in Chicago, it was widely embraced. It had transformed from controversial painting to beloved national symbol in just a few years.
That's a remarkable journey. That ambiguity must be key to its longevity. Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty of the painting itself. The composition, How are they arranged?
It's very formal, very deliberate. They're pushed right up close to the viewer, almost filling the frame. There's not much depth behind them. The house feels very
Maybe
close.
they're blocking our view.
Almost, yeah, like a human wall. They stand side by side, but they don't overlap much. They don't interact. Very separate, iconic figures. And their posture is rigid, frontal.
Facing us head on.
Exactly. It recalls those very formal, almost stiff portraits from the Northern Renaissance, like 15th century stuff, or even early photography, those old tintypes or daguerreotypes, very static.
So he's deliberately using an older, maybe archaic style. Why?
It gives it that sense of timelessness, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
stability,
Mm-hmm.
but it also creates a kind of tension, I think. They're close, yet distant. And the house looms right behind them, the roof peak splitting them, that Gothic window right above the man's head mirroring the pitchfork below it. Very structured, very symmetrical.
And the title, American Gothic. We know it refers to the house style, but Gothic has other vibes too, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. It brings in connotations of the old, the mysterious, maybe even the slightly spooky or macabre. It subtly plays into those perhaps big city ideas about rural life being strange or insular. It adds a layer of potential unease, even though the painting looks so straightforward.
It primes you to look for something hidden, maybe. What about the technique? The detail is just unreal.
It's incredibly meticulous. Oil on beaverboard, a very smooth, stable surface. He worked with such precision that you can barely see any brushstrokes. Everything is rendered with this sharp, almost hyper-realistic clarity.
Like those Flemish guys he admired in Munich.
Exactly, that influence. Every thread in the overalls, every strand of hair, the wood grain, it's all there in crisp focus. But it's not just photographic.
How so?
There's a slight exaggeration, maybe. Wood said he wanted them to look more like themselves than they were in actual life. He distilled them into archetypes, the farmer, the daughter.
And the color feels quite muted.
Very subdued, earthy palette. Browns, greens, grays, black, white. Workaday colors, nothing flashy. And the light is very even, almost shadowless. Everything's visible, but it can feel a bit unnatural, like they're under examination.
Okay, let's zero in on some symbols. The pitchfork. Obvious farm tool, but it feels like more.
It's doing a lot of work, that pitchfork. Yes, symbol of farming, hard labor, connection to the land. But held upright like that, clenched fist.
Defensive, authoritative.
Could be read both ways. Like a weapon protecting his territory, or a kind of rural scepter.
Yeah.
Some people see religious symbolism in the three times the Trinity. Others point out, the pitchfork's association with the devil.
Oh, didn't think of that one.
And look how the shape of the tines echoes the stitching on his overalls.
Oh, wow, yeah.
It visually ties his work, his identity, right into the fabric of his being. It definitely contributes to that guarded feeling.
And the farmer himself. What clues does Wood give us about him?
Well, he's older, balding, glasses. The face is long, stern, austere. That collarless shirt buttoned right up. He almost looks like a preacher's collar. Suggests piety, maybe strictness, the tight mouth, the clenched fist, potential anger, maybe, repression. He's the embodiment of that hardworking, perhaps stern, God-fearing pioneer stock.
And the daughter figure, Nan, she seems different. Her expression is harder to read.
She is definitely portrayed as younger. That severe hairstyle makes her look prim, but then there's that gaze. She's looking away, not quite at us, maybe a little anxiously.
Yeah, like she's looking past him or past us.
Exactly. And her clothes, the dark dress, the prim collar. But then there's that cameo brooch at her neck. Art historians have identified the figure on it as Persephone.
Persephone, queen of the underworld, goddess of spring.
Right. A symbol of captivity, cycles, maybe hidden life, or desire for escape. It adds this whole layer of potential inner conflict or feeling trapped, and see that one little curl of hair escaping her tight bun.
The one stray bit.
Some read that as a tiny sign of rebellion or suppressed sensuality, something not quite under control. Given the dark dress and the drawn curtains in the house window, some even wonder if it's meant to evoke a mourning portrait.
So much suggested in such small details. And the house isn't just background scenery either.
Not at all.
Yeah.
The Carpenter Gothic style itself suggests tradition, maybe religious values, especially with that church-like window. But the drawn curtains in that window add mystery what's hidden. The neatness of the house echoes the figure's orderliness, but maybe also their rigidity. And behind them, those green, almost lush trees, it's like a more pleasant world they're standing in front of, maybe cut off from.
It's an amazing construction. No wonder it's had such a life after 1930. What's its legacy been like?
It's just exploded. It truly is the USA's Mona Lisa. In terms of recognition, it became shorthand for the Midwest, for rural America, for better or worse.
Used in serious ways and parodied endlessly.
Oh, the parodies. Countless. Magazines, ads, cartoons, TV shows like Green Acres, anything wanting to evoke that middle America feel uses it. But also serious artistic responses, like Gordon Parks' incredible 1942 photo.
You tell me about that one.
He photographed Ella Watson, a black cleaning woman in Washington, D.C., standing with her mop and broom in front of an American flag in that same stiff pose. He also called it American Gothic, a searing commentary on racial injustice using Wood's image to show a completely different American reality.
Wow. That's powerful, using the icon to critique the nation.
Exactly. And the original house in Eldon, it's a tourist site now. You can visit, there's a center, you can even borrow costumes and pose for your own version. Nan, Wood's sister, actually helped preserve it.
That's wild. From envelope sketch to tourist landmark, have interpretations continued to change over time?
Definitely. The satire versus celebration debate never fully went away. Then came readings focused on nostalgia, or later, scholars started looking at it through the lens of Wood's own life, his possible closeted homosexuality, suggesting maybe there are coded critiques of social conformity.
So looking for queer subtext.
Some interpretations, yes. Others focus on psychological aspects, repression, anxiety. Robert Hughes called it studiously ambiguous. More recently, you get really specific readings, like focusing on the Persephone brooch and linking it to mythology, or even connecting the painting's mood to the discovery of the planet Pluto in 1930.
Pluto, okay, now you're stretching it.
Hey, people see all sorts of things. It just shows how rich the painting is, how it keeps generating new meanings. It's this messy accretion, as one writer put it, of stories, scholarship, memories, gossip. Its ambiguity is its strength. It lets us project onto it.
So wrapping up this deep dive, what's the big takeaway about American Gothic?
I think it's that this painting, which seems so simple, so straightforward, is actually incredibly complex. It's a snapshot of a moment in history, a reflection of deep cultural tensions, and just a masterclass in how art can mean so many different things to different people across time. It really rewards a closer look.
It really does. So maybe a final thought for our listeners. Thinking about it now, after our chat, what does American Gothic mean to you today, here in 2025? Does it still feel like it reflects something about America? If so, what?
Yeah, chew on that. And we really encourage you, go look at it. Find high-res images online, or better yet, see it in person someday at the Art Institute of Chicago. Maybe check out the Eldon House website. Explore the regionalists.
And let us know what other famous artworks make you go, huh, what should we explore next time? We'd love your suggestions.
Definitely.
Okay, that's all from us for this Art Explored Deep Dive. Thanks for joining us in Study Hall. Catch you next time.